So why the handshake? Why does the handshake seem so important to men in society? Well, I'm a man, so at least I most of the time identify as a man. And for me, the handshake has always been an interesting thing. Um, Dad and Grandpa both taught me when I was quite young that the handshake is very important. And after a lot of thinking about it, there's a few points I'd like to share. First of all, the handshake is a way for men to size up other men. For millennia, men have gone out to protect the tribe, go to war, go hunting together as a group. And to me, the handshake represents when you grab that person by the hand and you give it a squeeze. And usually the timeline is about 3 seconds. Of course, none of this is draconian. And I think to me the purpose is you grab that person's hand, you're meeting them palm to palm. It's a very tender part of the body, right? The palms. And you're meeting it as equals. Two palms. Two palms, nice and deep. Bury the crotch of those thumbs, right? Really get it in deep. Don't stop here. Go right in like this, so that you're engaging the fullness of their hand. You don't want to be at a disadvantage and have somebody having to grab your fingers like this and do the dead fish. Like that's no fun for either of you. It's not fun for you if you're doing the dead fish because you feel like you're not on equal footing. And it's no fun for the other person either because they don't feel like they're on equal footing, right? They're holding you awkwardly, right? You presented yourself awkwardly. So when somebody presents their hand, right, first thing, nice and deep, go all the way into the thumbs, and then grab. Don't grab too early and grab onto fingertips and stuff like that. Go really deep because this is about a palm to palm thing. So, and then while the handshake is happening, there's a pattern, right? There seems to be a beat that most people go by. And it's like 1, 2, release. Like it's the same count as paper, rock, scissors. 1, 2, 3. You release on the 3. It's the same pattern that guys use when they're hugging each other. When they are fairly friendly or intimate, they go to hug like their father, grandfather, whatever. And they go to hug them, and it's the same pattern, right? You want to know how long the hug is going to last. So there's usually the back pat. 1, 2, release. And that seems to me to be an interesting little correlation, that men sort of have a timer, an agreed upon timer, on how long a handshake or a back pat or some level of affection between other men lasts. And I think that's quite important because it puts everyone on the same footing. You know how long you have to hold the handshake, right? Give or take. You know how long you hold on to the back pat, and when you know that, you can hold somebody's eye contact during the handshake for that time. It gives you a very strong reading of that person. Now, the reason why that's so important is that if you're going to war, or if you were going to go out to battle, you were going to go get food, you're going out into the dangers of the world, right? There's saber-toothed tigers and mammoths and stuff out there. You want to know that that man who will be going out there to battle with you, that person, you want to know that under scrutiny, under stress, where you are holding them and looking them directly in the eye, you want to know that that person has your back. You want to know that when the scrutiny of life comes charging at them from the bushes, and they're covering your six, or they're covering, one of your sides or something like that, and some animal is charging from the woods, or another tribe is attacking the village or something, you want to know that that person can stare down that potential threat in their life, and they can hold their own, just like they did during the handshake. If a person flinches on something as simple as just basic physical contact with another person, are they going to flinch when a dangerous situation comes up? Are they going to flinch like when their boss accuses them of doing something wrong? Are they going to be able to stand up for their beliefs? Are they going to be able to stand up for who they are, what they are? Are they going to be able to do that? I would have to say that studies, talking about men with lower health, with bad hearts. Men with bad hearts have a higher risk of heart disease and stuff, but they also have what is known as a poor handshake. So here's, I don't like ads, so I'm just going to squeeze that on out of there. Ugh. Anyway, so here's one about handshakes. Sort of this is a men's magazine thing, and the Trumpian clasp, and I'm not talking about trying to overpower other people or try to get your elbow way up like this. I've had some assholes at the bar do that to me. You go to shake hands, it's like elbow down at your side, right? Like as if you're walking. And some people, they do the whole arm twist thing where they bring their elbow way up like this and they're kind of squeezing your arm. So what does that do to the person's hand that you're shaking? You're no longer meeting as equals, right? You come in, shake your hand, and what does the other person do? They bring their elbow up. Well, what does that do to your arm, right? If they bring their elbow up, it twists your arm in like this. And right there, you're just totally writing yourself off as an asshole. Your primary concern is domination, or I'm sure we've seen President Trump's handshakes where he'll grab and then he'll pull you towards him, right? And then he'll hold you till he deems when it's time to release you, right? And this is a psychological trick. This is like, people will do this in business and stuff to try to set the other person off. And if you're in a situation with an asshole like that, you might not be able to, you don't really want to get into a wrestling match and be fighting hands and stuff like that, but maintain eye contact. Let that alpha, piece of shit, that person who's trying to dominate you by thinking that this is some sort of a wrestling move, at least hold gaze with them, steady and strong. Because it's, kind of saying to yourself, I know what you're up to. I know what you're doing. Like, you're just, like, stop it. Because that's what it is. It's sort of like a little bit of a game for this. The handshake isn't supposed to be a domination game. Like, people will turn it into it. It doesn't have to be about a domination game. What it's about is equals. Equals meeting equals, shaking hands, look directly into the eyes, 1, 2, 3, and carry on. And this is to know who you are dealing with. Some of the things that will come up out of it is you'll get different feelings, right? Like if somebody gives me the dead fish, I'll be like, oh, well, I'm not going to depend on this guy to help me move, most likely. I'm not going to depend on this guy to have my back in case things go wrong down in Mexico or something, maybe that's not entirely fair. Maybe the person is uncomfortable with it. But I think it's a fairly decent indicator as to where somebody is and how they hold themselves throughout their life. If you can't maintain a 3-second look into the eyes of a stranger and hold their hand and present yourself well, that is the main thing. Present you. The handshake isn't about grabbing somebody else's hand. That's part of it. But it's also about how do you present you? How do you want to be presented? Do you even consider it important how you present yourself, right? Or is this just a thing to get out of your system and get over as quickly as possible? So practice with your friends. Greet your friends instead with the fist bump, right? The handshake is more intimate. This is why people like the fist bump, because it's less intimate. The problem with the fist bump is it's not as intimate. Get to know who you're shaking hands with, right? The fist bump, notice what people do? They don't look at each other when they do the fist bump. They look at the fist, right? It takes away the intimacy. It takes away knowing who you are looking at. If the eyes are windows to the soul, the best time to know another man would be at that moment. That's a very small window that we have to really kind of get a glance into who the people are around you and kind of go by a gut feeling. So, shake hands well. Present yourself well. Guess that's all I got. All right. Fist bump.